It's 2 o'clock and we have an appointment at 2 o'clock. Who do I have with me today? Everybody's starting with a letter W. Okay. Wesley and Walker, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Just give it another minute and then we shall start, and I will school you on everything I know about MLS. And then we'll all leave at 3 and have tea somewhere so that we can wake up a little bit. Awesome. I see John. Romper, bumper, bumper, boo, John. I see Shirley. John, do you remember Romper Room?
I do, sadly.
Okay. Okay.
And you know, I always got upset because she never said hello or good morning to me.
Oh, I'm so, well, let me
And
say.
you would think with the name John, you would hear it.
You get at least a half a dozen a week. And happy birthday to John, or good morning to John, or romper, bumper, bumper, boo, John.
What about Boomtown?
Oh, Rex Trailer, yeah. So, do you remember Bozo? You're muted, honey. You're muted.
Sorry, it was what was his name? It was
the movie guy.
He was a news host, wasn't he?
Yeah,
at one point?
he was, yeah. Because my dad was one of the cameramen who occasionally had to dress up as a clown. If what was the guy's name? Avrush, Frank Avrush.
Frank Avrush. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, well, thanks for walking down memory lane with me, John. I got everybody. I've got Shirley. I just want to make sure Wesley, Walker, and Alan. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today for MLS tips and tricks. There is no handout with this because we're just going to be sharing a screen, but I do have a sort of a guide that I'm going to follow, so you will have a wonderful experience, God willing. So let's dive right into it. Let me start with what MLS is and sort of, what it isn't. So MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service. And there are 3 of them in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. MLS PIN is the largest one, and that is the one we use. If you go down to the Cape to do some business, there is one on the Cape, Cape MLS. If you go well out to the Berkshires, there's one in the Berkshires as well. So there are 3 MLSs. The one that we sometimes, more often than not, bump into is the Cape and Islands MLS. The Cape and Islands MLS is owned by their Realtor Board in totality. That's how the Cape and Islands Realtor Board sort of funds itself, as their MLS. If you have a listing on the Cape, then there is a sort of a reciprocal agreement back and forth between MLS PIN and the Cape and Islands. You pay a fee that they'll put it on your your listing on the Cape and Islands MLS, and you're off to the races. If you have buyers who are looking on the Cape, that's tough because most Cape listings don't make it up here to MLS PIN, and you really do end up needing to get some sort of membership. If you are in the Norwell office, and I don't think any of you are in the Norwell office, none of you are, Norwell does have a Cape and Islands membership because, we're closer to it. Showcase just does not, but I just want to sort of give you the background of that. MLS PIN is owned partially by the Realtor Board or boards, but they are independent. So while you're a realtor, you get a better deal on membership, on your MLS dues, if you will. You don't necessarily need to be a realtor in order to use it. There are some MLSs across the country where you can only use it if you're a realtor, so it's just a little bit different. So that is my historical interpretation of MLSs all over the world. So let me start with setting up your profile, okay? And this is interactive, so if you've got questions, just jump on in. So it drives me crazy when I'm looking for people and nobody has a photo on their MLS. So if you go to Tools, and then you go to Options and Settings, this is your profile page, if you will, okay? So you should have your cell phone on it, your website on it, your email address on it. Your email address should be your Keller Williams email. And you should also have an email signature, okay? So that way, and you should have a picture of yourself. You cannot steal a picture of, a cute guy from Outlander. You have to have a picture of yourself, although it doesn't have to be recent. You can use your college picture if you want to. And the reason for that is that this is what the consumer will see sometimes when you're sending them listings and so forth, okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? Hearing none. Good. So that's, again, setting up your profile. It's super easy. I want to talk, though, about header footers. And this is so good because I'm showing some property this weekend, and I printed some off, if you can see it. So when you're showing property, a lot of times you're going to bring along some listing sheets, right? This is 12 Yale Street in Billerica. I'm sure my nephew's buying this weekend. So I'm going to bring this along so that he has a handout with pictures to look at. Awesome. But what I want you to know is that there's a header and there's a footer. And so you should also have a header and a footer on your presentation material, okay? So you're going to go to, again, we're here in option settings, and we have a group of tabs up here, okay? What you're going to go for is font report options. And you can have different fonts, and you can have different sizes, and you can have, this and that. But again, you should have something. So for me, my header is just my name, my organization. Again, we always share with people that we're Keller Williams, whichever one, Signature Properties or Showcase, my email address and my phone number, okay? So that's in the very beginning. The footer is at the end. So this is an opportunity. I'm just going to show you like that. You can have whatever you want as a footer. You can have whatever you want as a header too. You don't even have to do it if you don't want to, but it's best practice. So maybe you think to yourself, at this junction, what is my tagline? Or what is it that I sort of want to convey? And so mine says focus, skills, action, results. I stole that from somebody. And probably you will do the exact same thing. So figure out what you would like. So what have I seen? You're a full-time South Shore realtor, a family-like approach. I used to joke with him, it was the Manson family. Serving the communities from Boston to the Cape. Really, whatever it is that sort of appeals to you, and you can change it. I mean, I used to have something else, and then, I've had a variety of things until I saw focus, skills, action, results, and that sort of really resonated with me. So, if you make a contribution per sale to an animal shelter, or you have a certain designation or a specialization, or, or something like that, you can certainly do that as well. So when you do that and you set that, you should then, and I'm just going to pull up a property. Everybody can see my screen, okay? We're all together? Awesome. So I'm a big fan of 2359. I'm a big fan of zip codes because I remember numbers pretty well. So when I bring this up, you'll see here is my header. That's a nice picture too, huh? Wow, 269. I might go buy that. I'm going to put this over here for a moment. So here is my header. And again, at the end, there is my footer. Okay? Any questions about headers and footers? Not a soccer thing at this juncture, but maybe also a soccer thing. Header, footer, cover sheets. So the other thing I want to show you while we're here is cover sheets. So again, you've got, you want something pretty. You're going to show these nice people, 9 Sheila Road in Pembroke. And up here, by the way, you also have to have header, footer checked off here. So if I uncheck that, it goes away. Okay? So, but I want it, so please, and you should want it too, so please check it. So this drop down is going to give you some options as far as, looks to it. Sometimes we've called them beauty sheets, which is a sort of old-fashioned word. Let's look. Dramatic arc. I'm going to assume it means dramatic arts, and I love dramatic arts. So, but it's dramatic arcs, and you can see it's got this swishy thing going on. And so it'll set up like this, and then you'll have the actual listing itself. Or you look and you take, this is always popular, the welcome home option. Very basic. So what it doesn't have though is Keller Williams branding, right? So there is no Keller Williams option within that cover sheet. It's just pretty pictures and so forth. So again, header, footers, and cover sheets. Good things to do so that your people, your clients will be well impressed with you. Okay? So
Donna, sorry, one question. Does MLS give you the ability to create a cover template of your own?
yes, and I'll show you that. Well, yeah, and to a certain extent, through a CMA option that I'll share with you. Okay. But nothing as easy as this. Nothing that, well, it's just a little different. I'm going to show it to you though. But it's at the bottom of my page, John, so we just can't skip ahead. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back. Great. So now I want to talk about hot sheets, okay? So a hot sheet is just like a, if you know, again, I'm dating myself, but a hot sheet is a sort of a newspaper, if you will, right? So there was a time when, you know, young boys would stand on the street corner and just sell newspapers like, you know, I don't know, the president is dead, come and get it, whatever. That's a hot sheet. And so we have something similar to that. And the hot sheet's really good because it'll show you what's happening in your touchdowns. So I'm going to go back to my homepage, okay? And I know whatever you see on my particular MLS that you'll keep to yourself. So if you happen to know any of my contacts, you will not stab me in the back and try to steal them from me because they're all related to me, and I can't imagine that they would do that. But this is, that for a moment, this is are the hot sheets, okay? So I have a hot sheet for what I call touchdowns, or what I really see as my market, okay? So I live in Pembroke, and I'm primarily, have always focused on all of the towns sort of surrounding Pembroke. But I also have spent years working out of Norwell, so also wanted to know what was happening in Norwell, okay? I also, though, have buyers solely focused on Weymouth single families and Weymouth condos. The other thing I do is if I have a listing somewhere that perhaps doesn't fall within my normal, base, I will set up a hot sheet so I can just watch that market. So I'm going to list my mother's house in Shirley, Massachusetts, where 100 people live and 5,000 bears are in the woods. I'm going to set up a hot sheet just for Shirley, Massachusetts. So every day I can look and see what's happening with that community, okay? And here's how you're going to do it. You go up to, that's right, tools. And now you need a market report. You've got a lot of report material available to you. You don't even know how much you have available. But you're going to click on market report. Okay, these are all the reports that I've been looking at over the years. State rankings, South Shore market share, producing agents in my office, the grid, all broker tours, all sorts of fun stuff, okay? But you're gonna go to new report. And what you're looking for is the first one, hot sheet market watch. Okay. Now you need to name it. So I've always named it like, I'm going to name a test, so you know how many times I've done this. But my real hot sheet is called Good Daily Hot Sheet or Good Daily Market Hot Sheet. So name it something so that you know that this is what you're looking at every day. When I wake up and after I do my namaste and I have my coffee, the two things I do first is I look at my MLS hot sheet to see what's come on the market because it's inventory and it makes my heart go pitter patter. And then I look at my emails just to see, what's happening out there in the world. So let's call this test 3. And now let's talk about statuses, okay? So what a hot sheet is just a snapshot of things that have changed. So you want new, you want price change, you want back on market, extended, reactive. You want everything other than active. Active is the status, and we're going to talk more about statuses after this, but active is the status that is forever until it expires. It's active. It's new, and then it's active, and then it's expired. So you don't want to clog up your hot sheet with things that are not changing. You want breaking news, if you will. So again, we're going to go to, and you have to hold the little button down, and I'm always just, there we go. So, and then you want to talk about what type of properties, okay? I, for an example, want to know everything because I'm nosy, and it's all real estate. So I'm going to highlight everything here, okay? Now, the time frame over here, it just says today. Best practice, honestly, is to go out 48 hours. Go past 2 days. And the reason for that is that, you can do past 3 days too, I suppose. And I look at it every day. Every Saturdays and Sundays is not a day that I'm taking off from real estate. But what if I am distracted by something? A long weekend or something. I at least want to be able to, if I do it just for today, that's all I'm going to see. I need to see more. So pick something that works for you. Again, I think past 2 days is pretty good. So I want to come down here and talk to you about the search by, okay? So you can do, for a hot sheet, you should do the towns. So sometimes you'll hear the phrase touchtown, and a touchtown is just the towns that touch your town, you know? So if you're in Braintree, it would be Braintree, it would be Quincy, it would be Weymouth, it would be Milton. I think that's everything. If you're a little, you know, Pembroke, by the way, shares, here's some trivia for you. Pembroke shares more borders than any other town in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I just have more, but they're tiny towns. So I just have more towns added on. So pick what it is you want it to be, okay? And the way to do that, by the way, is just a quick double click, okay? Oh, I've got Acton. I'm just gonna focus on towns that start with the letter A, because A is for awesome. And then I'm gonna take Ashburnham, okay? If you wanted to only look at the certain communities, you can also go to counties. So if your buyer only, if you're only interested in looking at things on the Cape for a hot sheet, or you're interested in Norfolk County, for an example, which is where Braintree is located in Norfolk County, then you would only look at that. But if you want to look at everything, then please, you have to use all towns, okay? The other thing I want to talk to you about is coverage area. So if you click on coverage area, that is not what I thought it was. Pay no attention, that's not what I thought it was, so please disregard. The board, on the other hand, is if you wanted to only look through communities within that real estate, that realtor board. So if you want to look at everything that's going on with South Shore Realtors, double click on that, it will essentially, in the back end, provide all those towns, and that's what you'll be looking at, okay? A lot of times people like to track market share within their realtor board just to get a sense of how they're doing and competing against their peers. And if you're looking for that, look for the word board. The realtor board, the term, it's not very common anymore within the realtor organization, but they used to all be called boards, realtor boards, okay? Any questions about any of that? Let's go back to towns though. And again, we're gonna stick with Abington and Acton and Andover and Ashburnham. Now, for the purposes of what we need it for, this is all you need. That's it. You're just going to, oh, I don't know. I just brought it all up. Hold, please. There we go. And if you click save, now when you go to your home screen, sometimes it takes a second to populate. Give me a second, hopefully. So for some reason, that doesn't look like it actually, oh, I know what I did. It's at the bottom. I do this all the time. Hot sheet is at the bottom. These are all my contact matches. So every day, this is what I'm looking at, my Good Daily hot sheet, and there's test number 3. And so when I bring that up, now I know what's coming on the market. So I know what the market's doing. So if I see something, you know, like, oh my God, 55 Concord Road in Acton, oh my gosh, my old friend always wanted to live on that street, you know, at least I would know that, and I'd be, you know, and I could just reach out to her. So that's what a hot sheet is.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on the amount of hot sheets you can have?
No, no. Now, what there is a limit on is how many results you get. So if you said, I would like to do, my hot sheet is the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts that MLS PIN encompasses. I want to look at everything I possibly can look at. Then it will max out at 500. So if by mistake you're looking for something and it's Abington, but you clicked all towns in Massachusetts, and it just says, hey, you've reached the limit of 500, that's why. is that the only results you get 500 results, no more, no less. Okay, but you can have lots and lots and lots of hot sheets. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about searching for things, and then I'm going to show you how to set up a buyer. Okay, so somebody calls you and says like, hey, I'd love to find a house with, let me start with statuses actually first. So these are the statuses that within MLS. New is new, obviously, and you get that status for 48 hours. So you don't get to be new forever. You only get 48 hours, and then you roll over to being active. A price change, and again, you're active, you're static. A price change can be either up or down. You know, we're seeing a lot of people will post something, and then new construction, the price of lumber's gone through the roof, and they're raising the price. So a price change isn't necessarily a reduction in price. It's just a change. Could go up, could go down. But obviously that's pretty exciting. And again, that status is going to last for 48 hours. Back on market, BOM. Back on market means that something happened. So it went under contract, and we'll discuss that in a minute. It went under contract and something happened. The buyer couldn't get financing. The home inspection wasn't very good. You will not know what that was. Now, again, we did Ignite this morning. You can ask the listing agent why it came back on market. But the listing agent can tell you to go pound sand. So, you know, she can't lie to you, but she can be evasive. Like, hey, why did it come back on the market? You know. So you can ask, and you should ask if you're representing a buyer. Extended means that the contract period for the listing. So you took a 6-month contract, right? And it expired yesterday. And a lot of things did probably expire yesterday. And so before then, you got an extension to the contract. So it's extended. So there's paperwork and so forth that the seller will sign, and then you change the date in MLS, and now you are extended. So you're still on the market, you're still under contract. Okay. Reactivated is similar to that. There's a short little window. So if something is canceled or expired, not canceled, expired. So if something is expired, and you know, we're busy people, and then we meant to extend it, we've got the paperwork, but we didn't get to it. There's a short window of time where you can just reactivate it. So now there are statuses that the broker of record, and in this case that's Steve Zabosky for the Braintree office, would need to do. So there are things that the broker of record can do that you cannot do, but I think reactivated is available to everybody. So what's contingent? Contingent means an offer has been accepted, but a purchase and sale hasn't been signed. So, and when you look at that status and when you update that status, there's actually a couple of things that you can choose as far as an event goes. But the majority of the time, it's going to be that you're having a home inspection and that the purchase and sale hasn't been signed. It's the due diligence period, if you will. Now, a home can be shown when it's contingent if the seller agrees to it. But a lot of times buyer agents just don't want to show that property knowing that there's already an accepted offer. So it doesn't happen that often, but it is possible that a buyer's agent could reach out to you and say, listen, I know it's contingent, but in the off chance that it falls apart, can we see it tomorrow at 2 o'clock? So Under agreement, on the other hand, means you got a deal. It's good. Under agreement's good. So the purchase and sale has been signed, and now you are under agreement. UAG. Okay? Sold is just that. When you sell, when you've closed, the listing agent is going to go in and update the listing to sold. That's a responsibility of the listing agent. So I want to explain what you're called when you represent a buyer, because it's very confusing, and honestly, we have a ton of problems with it. When, as far as MLS goes, when you are representing the buyer, you are the sales agent. I know that sounds counterintuitive, because the listing agent should be the sales agent because, well, they're selling the house. But that's not the case in MLS world. In MLS world, you are the sales agent if you have the buyer, and I am the listing agent because I have the seller. Okay? Rented is rented, obviously. Temporarily withdrawn is used for cases when somebody in the house is sick, or they're having the floors refinished, or some pause, if you will, in showings. When it is temporarily withdrawn, it is not canceled, it is not expired. It is still under contract. So you, as a assertive lead generator, cannot contact temporarily withdrawn, okay? It is still under contract. However, expireds and cancels are just that. And expired, and you'll see that, by the way, on the hot sheet in red. Expireds and cancels are in red, which means, it doesn't mean stop, it means go, go, go. They can be contacted. They're no longer under contract. If you have a listing, because honestly, this is my story from my first listing. Got a listing contract signed, went to put it into MLS, and it turns out that they were listed by somebody else, but they didn't really know that. And it was they thought that they had canceled it, and they had not. They had temporarily withdrawn it. So something under contract, something already listed cannot be listed by somebody else. Hold on, please. Sorry about that. And lastly, coming soon. So coming soon is a new status. We do all this teasing about, coming, the Facebook pages and coming soon and sneak peeks and all that stuff. But MLS has a rule that you have to, I'm shutting it off. Let's shut off my phone. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? So the MLS has a rule that a listing taken needs to be within MLS within a ridiculously short amount of time, and I think it's 24 hours. So when you take a listing, you have to have it in MLS within 24 hours. Well, that's a really, really, really fast turnaround if you're getting photos done, or they're doing some staging, or they're doing some clean out. It just is not really reasonable in today's world. So coming soon is a great status. So you can upload it and coming soon. The rub is that you only get 21 days to be coming soon. There's honestly, very, 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 let's just check. I'm going to check a very, 2155. So this is a populated community, and we've got, please, I'm just going to see if they have anything coming soon, because nobody really is using it. And the reason for that is that you have to have it ready. Oh, here it is. Well, I take that back. There's one in Medford that is a coming soon, but only one. You have 21 days as a coming soon status, and then it automatically rolls over into new. So it's important to make sure that you can get that house ready and that it can be ready within 21 days. If you need more time, then you need to have a non-MLS form signed for a period of time. MLS is are we recording this? We might be. They're very strict about their rules and regulations. And you do not want to be at the end of a telephone call with MLS about being fined. So just make sure you really are like getting your paperwork together, okay? Any questions about that?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So if you when you said that when you get a listing and you have to list it no more than 24 hours after, what happens if you don't list it within that time frame?
So you can get, MLS will ask you for information sometimes. So they'll do a random audit. So more often than not, what happens is that you start the listing because you can start the listing and then hold it offline, and the date's there when you start it, right? And so you start the whole thing, and then you don't change the date, and then you go to post it, and then MLS says, hey, this is actually from this date was 7 days ago. What's going on? Provide to us the documentation that you just took this contract yesterday. And so either you need to be hyper aware of those dates, or just to start with maybe a non-MLS form. So there's on the home page toward the bottom, there are forms and flyers. So, and they've just changed some of this too, as perhaps you can right here. So if you're looking for a listing information, so here, so coming soon or probably non-MLS listing form. So probably the best approach is to be a non-MLS listing for a while and then become an MLS listing. You know, there's a lot of language, of course, about the fact that, you know, then you're not exposing the property to such and such and such and such, to the vast number of the 26,500 real estate agents who participate in MLS PIN. But if you need that extra time, then you need that extra time. So just be cognizant of that. I don't want to get bogged down in that because there's a lot of other, not workarounds, but other things you can do too. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So that is our statuses. Again, if you are canceled or expired, if that listing is canceled and expired, it is open season, if you will, for that, okay? So I want to talk about setting up buyers, because really this is what this is used for, okay? So you should have all your buyers set up on MLS to get automatic delivery of listings. We all should be also sharing our app. This is in conjunction with, but MLS PIN updates fast. And in this hyper market, your buyers need to see the property that came on at 2 o'clock. They need to see it today at 4. So this is what you're going to use. We used to call it MLS Web Hunter. It doesn't have a cool name anymore, so I still call it MLS Web Hunter. So you're going to come up here to contacts. And let me apologize and tell you that this is pretty convoluted. So you need to actually you can call me if you're in the middle of it, happy to help you, but take some notes on this one, okay? So you got to click contacts. And then you can say, oh, look, all my notes are coming through. And then you're going with new. So this is a new buyer for me. This is not even a nephew or a niece. This is just a new buyer. So the very first thing is a password. Leave blank for random password. No, don't leave it blank. If you leave it blank, MLS is going to put something in there. I have always used my first name. You should always use your name. And the reason for that is that you need to reinforce yourself as the professional of choice. So put your name in. You all have really nice names. Put your name in. Okay? So then we're going to come down and just start filling out stuff as far as contact name. You know, Bob Byer. And then if you have additional, a spouse, a partner, you know, you could do it there. Betty Byer. Okay? First and last name are required. And again, viewable by the contact, viewable by the consumer. So make sure you spell Betty correctly, okay? Emails. And by the way, I have been sending bobbyer@gmail.com. There may really be a bobbyer@gmail.com because it never kicks back to me, which is pretty funny. And make sure it says receive emails, because if you don't have that clicked, they're not going to receive emails. So if you have an additional email for Betty, like I do, put Betty down. You could go on and on. If the kids are involved, you know, Billy Byer, then, you know, the whole family can be involved. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into like, for me, I'm not getting into phones. I mean, some people use this as a CRM of sorts. You know, I've got Command, so that's what I'm using. But, you know, sometimes I will put down, you know, dog is Fido or something, you know, to remember, okay? So up here, so now we're coming back up here. And we're going to click on categories. They're buyers, obviously. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to click settings. So settings is important. So first let's talk about VOW, Virtual Office Website, sort of what they're seeing when you send them listings, okay? So display addresses, allow, deny, or default, right? I don't even know what the default is, quite honestly. My question is going to be, when it comes to addresses, how much do I trust them? Do I know them? Have they proven themselves loyal? You know, if you think that they're going to be awesome and you want to share the addresses with them, great. If they stop responding, but you know they're looking, this is a little trick, then take away the addresses, because then they'll reach out to you. Sometimes you need to get them to interact with you in a way that is effective. Okay, how's that for diplomatic? Okay, I am going to say yes. I am going to let them see the addresses. However, I am not going to let them see open house info. At this juncture, as a new buyer, my approach is to be with them for private tours. Now, when we have spent 6 weeks together looking at houses, I might then allow them to see open house info and encourage them to go by themselves to some open houses. By the way, if they're going to open houses, then I've had a conversation with them about that, and I handed them a dozen of my business cards and told them to hand the listing agent or the open house host my business card. Don't talk to the host. They're going to drive you, they'll call you every day for the next gazillion years. Just hand them my business card, okay? So let's talk about email matches. Email when no matches. The answer should be yes. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about how often they get email matches. This is just a daily email about the fact that there were no matches, okay? And the reason that I want them to know that there's no matches is that I want them to think I'm working for them, right? I am working for them, but this is automated. So sometimes I think they think that I'm sending this email at 5 o'clock in the morning, because it goes like 5 o'clock in the morning, and that I'm up and at them looking for houses for them, when that's not necessarily the case. So yes should be the answer. I also like the photo summary report. What do buyers want to see? They want to see pictures. So there's other things you can use, but honestly, the photo summary report is the best choice, okay? And lastly is reverse prospecting. Reverse prospecting is the listing agent will know that you have a match for the property. I'm going to sneeze in a moment. Please forgive me. Hold, please. Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. So, once upon a time, there was more there was more sellers and less buyers. It was a buyer's market. And so all these listings would sit on the market and no buyers. And then reverse prospecting would happen, which is when, again, the listing agent knows that I have a match for her 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath colonial in Norwell. And then she reaches out to me to encourage me to show the property. She does not know who my buyer is. That's private and confidential. But she knows that I have a match for it. Now, they'll drive you crazy with it, though. Like, hey, we've got a match. Hey, we've got a match. I have always said no to reverse prospecting, but that's a complete decision that you need to make. For me, if my buyer had some interest and your 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath colonial, I would have shown it to them. So, but it's certainly something that happens sometimes. Any questions about that? Hearing none, I'm going to click OK. So now I need to save. So I've done everything here. Okay, we're ready. I'm going to click Save. So now I've saved Bob and Betty Buyer. Okay. And now I'm going to go to searches, because now I need to tell Bob, I need to figure out what Bob and Betty want to see. Okay. So new contact search. Okay. And again, it's just going to be what they want, okay? Email frequency, every 15 minutes. If these are buyers who are not really that interested, they're C buyers. They're 6 months out. They're just getting educated. They need something to happen. They need to have their youngest graduate from high school before they can list or something like that. Then, we'll go on a daily basis. But if they're hot to trot and they're A buyers, they're going to get an email every 15 minutes. Okay. And again, I said no to open houses. So there's that default. And I always like it when they see when something went under agreement or sold or rented if they're renters. And so I'm going to change that to yes. And the reason for that is that I want them to see the market move. They didn't think that house on Main Street was worth $750,000. Well, it went under agreement the day after they saw it. So some of that is about education, okay? So, sorry. For me, all I really want to know when setting up a buyer is, what's the minimum amount of bedrooms you need? I mean, off the bat, I don't know them that well. I did a buyer consultation. They want everything. But not that buyers are liars, but as I mentioned, I had buyers that wanted a fixer-upper who bought a new condo. So I want to know exactly the minimum amount of bedrooms. It's 3+. They've got themselves, they've got a girl, and they've got a boy. The minimum they need is 3 bedrooms. Now, the plus sign is what you're going to use for everything above 3. So if I just put 3, all I'm going to get are houses that have 3 bedrooms. What about the house that has 4 bedrooms? They'd love an office. What about the house with 5 bedrooms? They'd love an office and an exercise room. So use the plus sign, okay? So again, down the road, when we've spent some time together, I might fine tune what it is that they really want. You know, I've been working with my nephew. I know he's going to go to Billerica this weekend and buy that house. And we had a really, really wide net. And then as we've spent time together, things have become crystal clear that the house has to have air conditioning. So I changed it to include air conditioning. Has to have vinyl siding. I'm not a big fan of vinyl siding, but whatever they want. So, you know, and it's going to have a basement, a full basement. That's the criteria. So you can go in and change that. But at this point, it's really pretty, you know, basic. And then the price, you know, what have they been pre-approved to? Really, you should not be showing property unless they've been pre-approved, but we all do it occasionally. But you need to have some amount in. You should also have a minimum, by the way. I mean, you don't want them to see everything that is not going, I mean, if it's a piece of yuckiness, you know, there's a bottom, if you will. So I'm going to say 650. Let me share this with you. When you go down here, and I'm just going to put a town in. I'll take the town of Acton. I want to talk about additional criteria. And the one thing right off the bat that I think is something that really resonates with buyers is the style of the house. So if you click additional criteria, and then you click, what we're looking for is style, okay? So if you just press the letter S, and then T, it'll narrow up you don't have to scroll through everything, if you will, okay? So style for a single family, SF is single family, not San Francisco. So buyers tend to know that they want a cape or a colonial or a ranch and a split and a front to back entry. They tend to be two polar opposites when it comes to that. So let's assume that your buyers just has a very strong opinion that they don't want a front to back split or a ranch. So you can just go in and remove front to back and a ranch. And so everything else, and by the way, if you had a gun to my head, I could not tell you what a Second Empire house looks like. I'm not sure I could tell you what a prairie house looks like. I don't know what a mid-century modern looks like. And I'm really not sure what an Italian it looks like, and I'm Italian. So basically, our buyers know colonials and capes and ranches and splits and front to backs. So that's, even if it's considered a Gothic revival or a Georgian, the listing agents don't really know what that is either. So now again, up here, we have these two. The check is if you only want it, and the slash is if you don't. So again, we're removing things. So we're going to click add, which is in a sense removing. So I know it's a little counterintuitive as well. But again, what they're not going to get, they'll get Greek revival if that exists. They'll get Gothic. They'll get Georgian. They may even get Italian it. But the two things they're not going to see is front to back split and ranches. Okay.
And Donna, who ultimately is going to determine what category that listing falls into? Is it the listing agent making that determination?
So usually it is, yes. But you're looking at the tax records a lot of times, right? I think that they mentioned that this morning. And the tax assessor sometimes uses, classifications like old style. There is literally a classification called old style, OLD. Now, we don't have old style, but the tax assessor does. More often than not, again, it's going to be a colonial, a cape. Listen, if you get a log cabin, that's like a celebration. And that's only because a log cabin looks like a log cabin. Also, a listing agent can put in multiple classifications. So you could be a Dutch colonial. You could be a colonial. You can be a gambrel. You can be a regular colonial. Georgian, Italian. She might just throw the whole soup in to see. Again, she wants to capture as many eyes to that as possible. Some things just don't really fit a really strict classification. I saw there's something up on the North Shore called a Dutch gambrel split. It looks like a Dutch colonial had a baby with a front to back split, and this is what they have. So, but there's no classification for that. So that, but ultimately it is the listing agent will talk to the seller about it. Some sellers have strong opinions about it. Okay, awesome. So then you're going to click Save Search. The search has been saved successfully. And again, notifications. So now when you go back to the home page, here's Bob Buyer. So again, every morning I'm looking to see what all my people have for matches. And then I'm looking to see what my hot sheet is. But when I see that Bob Buyer's got some matches, every morning it's the first thing I'm looking at, so that I can circle back with Bob Buyer and say, hey, this just came on the market. I know it's being sent to you via email, but wow. I mean, like, wow, or, hey, there's a house I saw today for my nephew, and I always look at the satellite image, and I was just like, it's a nice house, but it's got like a end of the cul-de-sac, and then behind the cul-de-sac, it's got like a car dealership thing happening. So, you need to look every day and see what your people are getting for inventory. It's inventory, essentially. Any questions about that at all? Awesome. So the other thing I want to talk about is how to find people. So again, we talked a lot about tax assessment records. If you go to Tools and then Public Reports, this is where you're going to find everybody. Now, when I say everybody, these are people who own property in Massachusetts that's registered. So if it's a mobile home and they don't own the land, then it's not in the tax assessment base, okay? And if it's a rental, obviously they don't own it, so you can't find them through this. But this is a great tool to find all the people you need. And here's why. This is a lead generation tool. Because if you went to high school with, Bob Smith, I've got to find a better name than Bob Smith, but so Lisa Miller, right? Go find Lisa Miller. And go find, people that and they live in Massachusetts. I found all my old boyfriends, which was fun in of itself. And you can find, tax assessment records. So, and you can just look in a street. So let's take, trying to find Highland Drive. I'm trying to think of a street that nobody here would know the people on there. So here is Highland Drive and Pembroke, right? Lovely people. And maybe you've got a buyer interested in this street. Here's how you can reach out to them. You can mail to all of them. In fact, you can make labels so that they can go on the front of a lovely card so that you can reach out to them. Okay? And so I just think it's an underserved tool. If you're looking for a, oh God, I wonder if he's in here. Steve Carell. How do you spell Carell? As in the actor guy. Let's go with that one. No. So back in the day, you could look up all the famous Drew Bledsoe. Unfortunately, it's because he doesn't live in Pembroke. Unfortunately, now that there are so many trusts, that finding a name of a famous person, it's difficult. But you could certainly find the governor, I happen to know, has his, so if you were looking to communicate with the governor, you could find him here. Also, I remember that the Queen Elizabeth owned a house, but she doesn't own a house anymore. But you can find people is really what it comes down to. More importantly, you can drill down to people who have lived in their house for a long time, the last date. So again, you can just look at the entire town of Pembroke, okay? Last sale date. Let's say that you would like to celebrate the bicentennial. It was a great time. We had nice public information things, but this is everybody in Pembroke that last bought a house in 1976. Now, why is it that might be interesting?
Shows you how desirable, or maybe, well, basically how desirable a neighborhood would be.
Absolutely. Well, also, you know what these people have? Equity. They got a lot of equity. Whoever lives at 49 High Avenue paid $20,000 for it. Whoever lives at 104 Wampatuck paid $3,000 for it. Maybe they would like to sell it. So that's why it's really, this, by the way, great, 222 Taylor Street, the Franzonis, super nice people. Look what they paid for it. So that's why it's important to be able to find people with a lot of equity, so that equity is the word, so that you can maybe reach out to them and see if they would like to sell their house, because you sell houses and maybe they're done living in it since they bought it in February of 1976. I don't even know who the president was. It Ford? I don't even know who the president was in 1976. Carter? I'm not sure. Here's the other thing. You can also use advanced criteria, right? And for the purposes of what we're looking for, we want absentee owners. Now, I do not believe that there are any absentee owners, but let's go to 1980 and see if we can find any absentee owners. So why would we want an absentee owner? It's time to cash out maybe, right? You'd have to look. This is a lovely, they live here, right? So that's the owner address, but that's the address of the property. Maybe these nice people who bought the house in 1980 for $22,500 would like to sell it. So that's why knowing who an absentee owner is can be important. So go find people on your street, go find all your relatives, go find all your classmates, go find that cute boy that was in my history class that didn't wear a shirt every day but had a black leather vest on. Go find him and, reach out to them, send them a card, find their phone number. Any questions about that? So I know we're just about done, and I have so much I want to talk about. I'm going to finish, but I know we're coming to a conclusion. The last thing I want to follow up with is how to find out how much business agents are doing, okay? So, you start you're having a conversation with somebody, and the agent is a little, hey, I'm all that in a bag of chips, right? Maybe they are all that in a bag of chips. Maybe they're not, because we can find people's production. So let me find everybody has an MLS number, right? I always pick on my poor friend, Ben Parada. Ben is my favorite human in the world. And Ben sells more, look at that, more real estate than anybody else in the entire Plymouth County. Okay, but he's part of a team, right? So when you see TM, that means it's a team, okay? But again, here's Ben. So if you, let me take somebody else though. I'm also going to take another friend of mine. So this is an old and delightful friend of mine, adore her. She's with another organization. She does tremendous, oh, what a nice picture. Okay. So you're doing, you're talking to somebody and you're, hey, hey, I'm doing all this business. I'm the best agent in the world. You're nobody. You can look up their business, okay? So if you go to select all and then just pick sold and go back 12 months and then scroll down, again, you're going to take all of Massachusetts because they sell property everywhere, and then go to select, and you come up here, you're going to type list or sale agent ID. So again, it's whatever she was listing and whatever she was representing a buyer for, okay? And you put in her number, and then you click view results. You will see that she has sold within the past year 21 listings. You can see it right up here, okay? So yeah, she's got some pretty good, she's got some gravitas, if you will. She can talk, she can give you some smack because she can back it up. Now, on the other hand, let's put Ben in, right? Ben talks a little smack. And you go to pull him up. Did I not put in the right number? A, 1, 2, 3, 6, 6. Come on, Ben. No. So let me just put in the team then, show you this. So 00247. So again, 69, they've sold 69 properties. So, obviously they've got some good business behind them. So if anybody starts talking some smack to you, go look up their production, because they may have the gravitas to back it up, but they just might be talking smack to you, because you'll be surprised at the people who give you the biggest grief sometimes are the folks who really, aren't doing that much business. The pros are so easy to deal with because, they're pros, quite frankly. So any questions about that? Awesome. I am going to conclude. It's 3:08. There's so much more to talk about, but unfortunately, I just never get enough out in an hour. Does anybody have any questions, though, before we part ways? Anything at all? Wow, you are just good people. Well, I want to make sure I got everybody, so I can put you into the walker. I'm sure. Awesome. Okay, well, that concludes our class. If you ever want to know more about MLS or you have any questions about it, because we didn't even get into like the CMA programs and all that stuff, because there's so much more too. So absolutely fool around with it a little bit, because it can really help you with your business. But that concludes our time together. So off you go. Have a great day. I'll talk to you all tomorrow then. Okay?
This is really good. Thanks, Donna.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
How can I figure this out? There we go.